Okay, let's get started on our first battle. After getting out of the tutorial battle, I really like all the battles that follow, except maybe Richmond, the final battle. But all the other battles, I really like them. You just have to get out of the tutorial and get started on your campaign. So I always check the amount of reputation. The max reputation you can have is 100, and you never want to lose reputation by going over 100. So notice how the enemy's strength went up. As I built a bigger army, the enemy level scaled up to me. So that's really good, actually. I want the enemy to come to the battlefield with the largest possible number. And I'm coming with every man that I had available. This is the biggest army I could build. So absolutely great, and I want to get them all. So that's the point. Okay, I'm going to fast forward through this. The enemy comes through it shows you the different routes the enemy comes. And I want to get my unit started here. I'm showing you how you can take units in and out of your pool by just clicking on them. You can also change the direction by just clicking down on the unit and then doing a little swivel thing, and it changes the facing direction. So I put my army where I want it to be, and I can hit start. Now, an interesting thing is that these fortifications are usually death traps, and so I'm going to get the units out of there pretty fast. If you're ever attacked in any position from more than one direction, the unit's going to rout. And if a unit gets flanked, you're also going to rout. So this fortification in the north is fine until that unit gets attacked from more than one direction, which is going to happen. It's going to get attacked from 3 directions, and then it's going to rout, and the leader is going to die, because that's what happens if you get attacked from multiple directions. So I'm going to get him out of there as soon as it becomes apparent that he's going to take hits from more than one side. As long as you're getting attacked from just one side, you're fine. But as soon as you get attacked from 2 or more directions, you're done. So I sent my recon over here. My skirmishers and my cav have great visibility, and they were able to see the units coming in. And so I want to get a shot on these guys as soon as they get into the open. And I don't want these guys, my recon unit, to give their position away. I just want them to look around and to see what the enemy has available. I decided to go ahead and get Richards out of there, out of that death trap, rather than fiddle around with it. You can let him in there for a while. I just decided to bring him into the battle and use him to attack. And I really like recon. Recon lets me know how many I'm facing. Okay, I have a tactical advantage right here. I have a numerical superiority at just this point of battle. Even though the enemy has greater numbers than I do, I have an advantage here at the point where we're fighting, and that's all I need to worry about, is to have an advantage wherever we're fighting. And the enemy can have a numerical advantage wherever we're not fighting. So that's kind of Sun Tzu. Attack where the enemy is weak and retreat where the enemy is strong. And that's what I'll always do. I'll pick a point where the enemy is weak and attack there. Oh yeah, and he's going to charge in, and I'm going to tear him up for that mistake. Notice how I have these guys on run, mostly so they change firing direction very quickly. So we'll do some real harm to these guys. Never walk your units through the woods. it takes forever. They move really slow and they'll get on the other side of the woods completely exhausted. So if you tell them to take the road, they'll move really fast and they'll get to wherever they're going without being tired. So never walk through the woods to get somewhere. Yep, didn't take much. Now I see that there's an artillery unit that's just over there waiting to be hit. I'm going to take that opportunity to hit them. Okay, I don't want Richards to engage in a melee, so I pop a skirmisher, detached skirmisher, and then put the skirmisher back into the unit. And that cav unit thinks it's being clever, but all it's going to do is get torn up by my infantry now, who can focus on it. So that is, yeah, he got a shot, a flank shot, but that's going to cost him. This other unit, though, is too close to my commander. That only happens one time, but I'm going to make him pay for that too. And my recon unit did a great job with inflicting damage on the artillery, but I see his infantry's coming up, so probably need to get out of there as soon as possible. This is actually great. Put a hit on both of his cav units. Routed both of his infantry, hit his artillery. I can take some losses because I'm in the woods, but probably they've done enough. I'm not going to let them stand there and bleed to death. I'm going to get them out of there. Okay, this has all been very successful. Now I need to just buy time with the skirmishers on the flank. My reinforcements are coming up, which is great. Get the artillery to come up, and this is going to start the next phase of the battle. So I got to take a shot at the enemy and inflict some casualties, which is great. And I'm not really worried about victory locations. What I'm interested in is wiping the enemy out. And this is the only thing about victory locations I'm really concerned about is sometimes taking the victory locations will cause the countdown timer to start, and then the scenario will end. So I'm really aware of a lot of battles where that happens, and I do everything possible to not take the victory location if it's going to set off the countdown timer. So this guy, I can either hit fall back, or I can just tell him to move. If you tell a unit to move and you draw a line, then what it'll do is it'll move in column, and it'll move a bit faster. So my troops are coming up nicely, and I can't wait to get my artillery into the battle. I think I took the artillery out, so that's great. His cav thinks he's going to get free shots on my infantry. And if I'm going to do it this way, I need to say run, so they turn quickly and get a shot off. Hopefully I can hit them with a shot. Notice how fast they turn and fire. And hopefully everybody gets a shot. That would be nice. Now his artillery seemed to live, so... And I already know where I want my artillery to be, so yes, and I got all 3 units got shots off. So nice. Didn't do much damage, but at least they got a shot at the cav. And maybe the skirmisher can get some free shots on the second artillery. That would be nice. And again, I don't have to really micromanage that. As long as the artillery unit stays in sight, this skirmisher unit will move up, take a shot, back off, then move up, take another shot. But if the unit gets out of sight, then it'll stop doing that. So I don't have to micromanage that unit. It will be fine. So now I'm redeploying to a nice defensive position because the enemy is always going to attack when he comes onto the battlefield. And I'm going to give him an opportunity to attack. I'm kind of scooting this guy around. Stay away from that infantry and just pick on this artillery the whole way up the hill. That would be nice. So the ideal position is get all of my units in cover and concealment where I have between 100 and 160 cover. And the enemy is in a position where they have no cover and concealment. That is the ideal. And I want artillery right behind my infantry, firing canister into the enemy as they approach. I'm going to put the 6-pounders right next in a wooded, covered, and concealed position, and right next to the victory location, the flag, so that if the enemy does take this location, he's going to take canister in the face, and he's going to instantly rout. So that turns that location into a death trap. Ooh, I might have to go back and save my my cav and my skirmishers. I'm gonna just let him run. So I like for cav and skirmishers to operate together. They do better when they operate together. So yeah. Might have to go back and rescue those guys. Okay, they're going to get away. One of the things you want to think about, particularly when you're facing a strong opponent, is have not put everybody on a single line, but have some units on your second line, so that if your units up front take damage, you can have them fall back, and when the enemy charges, you have a second line of infantry and artillery to really inflict a lot of damage on the charging enemy. So that's one of the things I'm going to do here in a lot of battles. I'll have 2 lines of infantry, most of the infantry on the front line, but infantry on the second line to plug any holes, to swap out with any units that get tired, low condition, or low morale. And then if the enemy charges, what you'll see is you can fall back, and then the fresh unit will throw an immediate volley into the charging enemy. And if you have artillery on that second line as well, the enemy will also take canister to the face. And between those two things, most units will stop charging. I'm putting the cav over to the right, which is what cav should do. Cover your flank and keep an eye on things, just to see if any infantry comes up on the right flank. So his infantry might go over and join the main force, or it might come down and try to threaten my right flank. And look, there's a unit hiding in the woods. So now I know he's there. This is something that the game often does. You'll tell units to reform somewhere, and the AI will figure out the most absolutely inefficient and stupid way to move units around. Absolutely one of the things that happens. And then you can't do that, obviously. Then you have to tell units individually to move. Because it has the unit on the right go all the way to the left, and the unit on the left go all the way to the right. It is absolutely stupid and broken. So all you have to do is just pay attention if the AI is giving stupid orders, and then overwrite those. It's just one of the weaknesses of the game, that the AI is an idiot. Okay, that skirmisher was able to pick on that artillery unit and just slowly whittle it down to nothing. So that is absolutely terrific. I always want to wipe out the enemy artillery. So because I knew that unit was over on the flank, I was able to get a guy into the fortification. And as long as it's only one guy coming from one direction, I should be okay. The unit inside the fortification should not rout. And I'm going to get free shots on the flank of the enemy too. Yeah, I hope he just stays there. That's great. So I can dismount those guys and fire all day into his flank. Except he's not going to take flanking fire all day. That's the only downside. He's going to rout. But here's another guy who wants to come up and take a bunch of casualties for no purpose. And I can maybe hit this guy in the flank and the rear. Okay, he sees my cav. He shouldn't be able to see my cav. They're hidden. So I'm going to back off, and hopefully he'll take the bait and move in where I can hit him from several different directions. And I'm having my skirmisher look around. I'm hoping to find more artillery or supply wagon or something interesting to hit. Oh, come on, attack. I spend about half the game yelling at the enemy to please attack. The AI has to take some time and kind of get troops into location, and it takes them a while to get all the troops in the right kind of clump that the AI wants, and it takes a while. And then after there's some kind of mass of troops, then the enemy will start attacking. So that's I think what we're doing now. The enemy just doesn't walk up and then charge. It kind of has to think about it for a while. I usually don't like my cav too far away from my infantry not being supported, but I want to just recon around and see what the enemy has that I might be able to pick up easily while he's doing whatever it is he's doing right now. And two things have just happened. I've found another artillery unit that I can pick off, and I'm not going to miss this opportunity. This is an isolated unit. And finally he's charging with someone. Now this unit is absolutely doomed. My units are in good cover. I have artillery support, already hitting them with exploding shell, and I'm going to get 3 units firing volleys into this guy. So I'm going to put this guy on run so he can run up and fire into the guy's side. I'm going to go ahead and mount up and have my other cav unit go over and take this artillery out. This can be a big help later on. The infantry is going to be fine. I'm not going to need the cav for this. Infantry and artillery and skirmishers are going to tear these guys up. I'm really happy he's attacking. Okay, this guy needs to fall back. The guy in the fortification is doing a great job. All these guys need to be on run, so they change direction. I'm changing their artillery to the most aggressive one who's charging. I want to get them lined up on those guys right away. So the Palmetto 10 needs to stop. Perfect. Look at that, 3 units firing into the guy on the right, and the guys on the left did a job of making Law fall back with great losses, and now look at that, a skirmisher on his flank and 2 infantry in front. This is going to be terrific. And with the artillery, the skirmisher has finally gotten over to the battle. That artillery is going to die. Okay, when units start to slide around, you can either give them an order to move, or you can tell them to hold. So that didn't last long. And look at the damage that unit took. My skirmisher is moving. Where's my cav unit? Need my cav to get over there as fast as possible. We have a chance to take that artillery out. In fact, there's almost no chance that artillery can survive all by itself without any support. And shift the artillery to the fresh unit that's coming in charging and bring up infantry to hit them on the flank. This should be pretty good. Now, I'm moving the Palmetto on top of the artillery because I always protect my artillery. I'm going to lose no units in the entire playthrough. I never lose units. That's one of the things you want to make sure of. Now I'm telling my units to hold so they don't shift around. I want them to just, if you don't tell these guys to hold and they're touching each other, they'll start moving around. And I just want them to stand there and throw volleys into the enemy. I don't want them to shift around. And look at that canister. That's just terrific. Skirmisher on the flank. 3 units in good cover, not moving around, throwing volleys into the enemy, canister fire. And now my infantry unit is protecting the artillery, so even if he were to charge, he wouldn't be able to touch them. In fact, I'd rather countercharge to protect my artillery than let him get to my artillery. Yep, that's what I want to do all day long. And I'll do this as long as the enemy insists on charging this position, because this is a perfect kill zone. An area to the front without any cover, and I'm in an area of cover. And this is what you don't ever want to charge into, an area where the enemy has good cover and supported by artillery. And I think I just took his artillery out. So this is why recon is so helpful. He only has 2 guns left. That is absolutely terrific. In fact, this battle's over. With 2 guns, he is going to have no chance of surviving. This battle is right now over. I just hope he keeps charging so I can really weaken him before I have to go after him. He still has a lot of troops. I would like to get that number down before I have to charge and face him in open ground. It's a nice little recon force. Let's see what the enemy has on his left flank. Any goodies like supply wagons, or maybe I can find those last 2 guns. I'm going to check the condition of my army and supply frequently as we go on. Really should move that 6-pounder up. He's in a nice position. He has pretty good cover right there. Not great, but okay. Yes, thank you for charging. And notice how I backed the guy off who was about to take the charge and bring the Palmetto up, who has better range. That's what I'm talking about. With some weapons are better than others. I knew that guy was the Palmetto, so I brought him up. Got him to retreat just in time for the next unit to come in and take shots from all my units. I need to shift everybody from the retreating unit to the attacking unit. And unfortunately he pulled up short. I wish he would have just kept charging, but okay. And that was a pretty good move on his part, where he hit the fall back button, which was the right play. Standing there and dying was the wrong idea. Okay, I'm never gonna hit that finish button again. I let 100 cav get away before, and I'm not gonna let that happen again. We're gonna get everybody. Okay, let's creep up here in the woods and just look around a little bit. I want to see where the enemy's hiding. I have plenty of ammo. I have plenty of ammo in the wagon. I can stand here and fire artillery all day. The battle ends, I think, this battle ends at 1400. Which means I have 3 hours of game time. Everybody shift fire to the guy who's charging. I really don't want the Palmetto to fall back into the fort. There's some screwy thing that happens with the unit formation. So we got the first guy to already rout. We'll quickly crush this 400 size unit. Even the guy on the fortress is getting some free shots. Yeah, he's doomed. Wonder if I can pick up that supply wagon. That would be nice. Every supply wagon you pick up is cash. So, free pile of cash for every supply wagon. Not to mention you get a whole bunch of supply. So, yeah, I'd like to have both. Big pile of cash and supply. Man, that unit just got torn up. Yeah, notice how many losses. The enemy's just getting more and more losses, and my units are just getting more and more kills. This is entirely the objective. And I want to weaken him so much that when I go after him, he's done. Pretty much, I will only go into melee with a unit that's down to about 200 in strength and completely exhausted. But not with these guys, with units that are about 2,500 in size. Because when exhausted, tiny units get charged by large, powerful, fresh units, they pretty much shatter or surrender. I want to get these units in range of this little tiny unit. There is something bad that happens. Your artillery will target the enemy leader, which seems to be a waste of time. I want my artillery to target the enemy units. My infantry units will kill the enemy leader, and I'll be very, very happy to kill the enemy leader because he gives nice perks to all the infantry or all the units in the area. But right now, I'd really like to wipe that infantry unit out. Really like to just eliminate it from the battle. Nope, I wasn't able to take it out. Okay, this is just a little bit busier over here than I was hoping. So I have to be a little bit careful. Stay in the woods, maybe dismount my cav, use them as skirmishers. Go over and try to pick off the supply wagon. That would be nice. I have to admit that there's no way I would put my skirmishers over there by itself in the woods. I would never do that. You took the commander out. Nice. Your infantry will kill the enemy commander. So that was very nice. And your commanders can be killed too. So you don't want to get your commanders anywhere near the enemy infantry, because your corps commanders can be killed. And you don't want that to happen. Losing a corps commander, losing a 3-star losing a 3-star general in the early game is worse than losing 10,000 men. So yeah, don't let the enemy get shots on your generals, on your corps commanders. I think it's really interesting what the enemy will completely forget what they're supposed to be doing and charge skirmishers. The AI really, really hates skirmishers for some reason. Um, in this case, there's a unit that should absolutely no way focus on my skirmisher unit. And yet it's turned its flank to my infantry unit to take a shot at the skirmisher, which is absolutely stupid. The skirmisher is not going to take that much damage. And the infantry unit can't afford to be flanked. But yeah, the AI really hates skirmishers, and if you want to tempt them into a foolish attack, just put some skirmishers in front of them. Okay, the supply wagon is safe, so maybe we'll come down and pick on a couple of his infantry units. My cav has moved all the way across behind the enemy and come up on the other flank, so just when I need them to be there, when they can be of service. It's great. Yep, let's do this 3-on-1. And I'm hitting hold so they stop moving around. Now they'll just stay there and not move around as they do, trying to reposition themselves. His units are just in a horrible position right now. It's a good idea every once in a while to reposition your commander and reposition your supply wagon. Keep those units topped up with supply. And I'm not even at 50% supply right now. His units are just collapsing. Would love to take those tiny units out of the game. Just get rid of them. And while they're in the open, that would be very easy to do. If they get in the woods, it'll be harder. Time for everybody to move forward. And I don't need a double line now. A nice long battle line will do well. I just need to get the artillery to move up and make sure that I'm hitting the enemy at the best possible, closest range. get my cav out on the enemy flank. I'm going to put a detached skirmisher in the victory location, just because the enemy likes to, you know, come around, and you know, I know he would send scouts around there to come and see if he can snag that back. I'm looking at the range of the weapons, and I'm just going to get every weapon within range of the enemy, so I can just put volleys down, and then move the artillery up. Get the enemy supply wagon up, get my supply wagon up, keep everybody in supply, get the commander to exert his positive influence over the over all the units, increase efficiency. And this army is going to perform a whole lot better when I get rid of the current general and get the next corps commander with the better perk. Yeah, the enemy's pretty exhausted and low morale right now. It's taking a real beating, so it doesn't take much, even a couple of volleys from the front now, and they rout. This enemy army's broken. We are now in the pursuit phase. The battle's over. We're now in the pursuit phase, where we just run them down and wipe them out. Oh, I just noticed my skirmisher, which has been doing great duty the whole game, is finally out of supply. So I'm bringing this artillery right up close to just pound the enemy. I want as much canister fire as I can possibly deliver. It's always nice to take out their cav, too. Thanks for bringing your cav up where I can kill it. That was very nice. Yep, and a few rounds of canister, and the guy in the fort just routed. Okay, now it's just, I'm going to put this on forward fast. This is just bag 'em and tag 'em. The units will start to dissolve. So the skirmisher that ran out of supply, I'm going to bring him back to a supply wagon to get resupplied. That's the easiest way to do that. Keep pushing the artillery forward. Yeah, that guy in the front is being hit. 4 units are hitting on 1 unit. It's hopeless. And I'd like to cut these guys off so they can't just keep retreating forever. So they die in this little pocket. Yep, move the infantry forward, then have them halt, bring the artillery up, let the artillery do its work at close range. Dismounted my cav, so they're firing in skirmisher mode. Just volley after volley of fire. The infantry's been caught in kind of a pocket. They're doomed. Yeah, look at those numbers on my units. Most of them have really high numbers, like 600 to 96 losses. That one not so much, but okay. And now we're just going to run down these last guys. So I'm going to not just fast forward, but I'm going to skip ahead. And this is what every battle should look like at the end. This is how every battle is going to end, except one. There's one battle right where I wait too long to attack. So 5.2 to 1. 966 losses, 5,000, over 5,000. 5 to 2, 5 to 1 is a victory. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for 5 to 1. And that'll allow me to get a lot of experience in my units. Yeah, 600 and only 96 casualties. That's terrific. 600, 6 to 1. Yeah, all those numbers are great. And one of the biggest things is I'm looking for promotions. So getting unit promotions is huge because I'm going to build an enormous army. And you can build an officer corps just by buying captains and majors. I have enough money where I can buy lieutenant colonels and colonels. Well, I'm going to buy pretty much all the officers available. But you can build an enormous officer corps just with majors. And that's why, these majors are now lieutenant colonels, and those colonels are going to eventually become 3-star generals, most of them, if they live. So the enemy apparently had 1842s, very nice, and a bunch of reborn farmers. I'll take that. The supply gave me 4,000 cash plus, and I'm not going to sell any weapons. I don't have to. I'm going to use the weapons for whatever I want to in the game. So that was a very successful battle, and it was fun. It was a fun battle. I enjoyed defeating the enemy, and I enjoyed running them down and wiping them out. So that was fun. So thanks. See you in camp.